Hi, this is Steve. Welcome back to Scale Model Kit Review. Up next in this video is from Agora Models, Hatchet Park Works, Build the Terminator T-800. I have Pack 1. So in just a minute, I'll show you the features of this kit and we'll look at all the parts. I'll be right back. Agora Models gives fans of the Terminator a unique opportunity to build and own a premium half-scale model of the T-800 exoskeleton, one of the most iconic and terrifying figures from cinematic history. Agora Models brings the official half-scale model of the legendary T-800 Terminator to North America for the first time, measuring over 3 feet tall with working electronics, articulated joints. This is a high-spec premium collector's model. This precision-engineered Terminator T-800 model, Skynet's most lethal weapon. The scale of this kit is half size. The height, 3 feet 1 inch or 95 centimeters. The weight, 13 pounds approximately or 6 kilograms. The display base is 16 by 16 inches, 420 millimeter by 420 millimeter. The materials it's made of, high quality zinc alloy and ABS parts. This kit has over 650 parts. Remote control sounds, lights, and movement. Luminous eyes, articulated joints, remote control jaw, display base, sound effects, and lights. Sent back in time from the post-apocalyptic future, rising from the ashes of the nuclear fire, the T-800 is the ultimate killing machine, its mission to exterminate mankind.
Phased plasma rifle in 40-watt range. Uzi 9mm. I'll be back.
Welcome back. Here's what you'll receive with Pack 1 of Build the T-800 the Terminator by Agora Models in cooperation with Hatchet Park Works. Now this is a half-scale kit, and we received the Pack 1 magazine, which gives us the instructions on actually building the kit, and very nice articles, and that's built in with all the parts that are included with Pack 1. We receive 10 issues with this pack, and I'll show you those here in a little bit. We also receive an addendum for replacing parts. They give us replacement parts for this already, and I'll get more into that when we actually do it. And then we received a poster showing us the life-size scale of this figure, and you can see here it's half scale. It's a pretty big kit. So with that, I'll move on to the parts here, and let's look at the parts. Stage 1, components for the head and eyes. Stage 2, components for the head and right arm. Stage 3, components for the right arm and first finger. Stage 4, components for the upper right arm. Stage 5, components for the lower jaw and neck. Stage 6, the teeth of the lower jaw and the bridge of the nose. Stage 7, components for the upper arm and head motor. Stage 8, components for the right thumb and right palm. Stage 9, components for the right hand side of the head. And the final stage for Pack 1, components for the inner eye sockets and right middle finger. Here's the magazine for Pack 1, and contained within is all the steps for all 10 stages. So with this, I'm going to review the magazine. I'm going to skip over the stages that don't apply to this video because I'm just building stage 1 in this video. So we'll open it up first thing, and they give us a table of contents here, and they give us a little article on the origins of the killing machine, and then that's about a 3-pager there. Very nice. And then we get right into stage 1, which is building the components for the head and eyes. And you can see we have quite a few steps involved here. We should have a second page to this. We do. So we pretty much have 9 steps total for building the head and eyes. And let me skip through to the rest of the magazine. And the next article is the digital vision, artificial intelligence, and photography. So that's a good 2-pager there. And then that is it. And so we'll go ahead and get the parts out. We'll get a close look at the parts and we'll assemble stage 1. Here's the parts for stage 1. And now they do recommend that you get a screwdriver. And the screwdriver they recommend would be a PH00 screwdriver. This is the Wera screwdriver. I put a link in the description below for my Amazon store. So this is the smaller version of that screwdriver because we do have smaller screws contained within here. So give me a chance to pull all these parts out. We'll get a closer look and then we'll start the assembly. Here's a close-up of the parts we received. And the big thing is the chrome eye socket and nasal passage. This is made of metal and it is fantastic. Just look at the detail on it. Very nice. It's kind of a rough finished chrome finish. So very nice with that. And then we also received the black inner eye sockets. We got the eye orbit brace, chrome eye orbits, eye socket brace, 2 LED diodes for the eyes and the red covers for those, and 3 2x4 millimeter screws, and they identify those as PB screws. I went ahead and labeled them myself because they aren't labeled. Step 1 was inventorying all the parts. Step 2 is they tell us to take these 2 parts here and put them aside. We'll do an assembly on those a little bit later. It is handy to have some tweezers for this build. So if you want to get a really good high quality set of tweezers, these are the Tamiya ones and they are available on my Amazon store. Very handy to use. Now the step 3 is they want us to insert these red lenses into the eye sockets. You can see there's a flat edge and there's a round edge. So obviously we want to have a round edge sticking out on the outside. So they'll just simply squeeze down into there, just like that. And the next one, same thing. And we have both of those. Next they want us to insert these LEDs into the light sockets, and they just simply go in just like that. They just squeeze in there. It is a very tight fit. Just be very careful with it. There we go. They are in. Step 7, we want us to insert these into the light socket. Now we'll turn it over, and what they tell you is, if you'll notice, there's some tabs that stick out on this. So you want to have both of them oriented with the other tab right there to the top. Now this is probably the bottom. Not necessarily the bottom, but the way they show it oriented in the instructions is just like this. So you want to have it just like that, with that tab sticking up for both of them. Okay. So it's just going to be easy to take and insert one at a time here a little bit, just like that. And we'll take the other one and do the same thing with it. Put it in on the other side, just like that. Okay. And this pretty much squeezes down. There's some locking tabs on this. You can see how that looks. Take our PH00 screwdriver and we screw them in. It's also handy to know that your screwdriver is magnetized, and that helps it along also. There we go. So we turn it over and they rotate around. So that looks really good. It looks great. And that completes stage 1. And I look forward to doing the next stages for you. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 2. Here are the instructions for stage 2. And it looks like we start assembling the components for the head and right arm. So we'll continue on with what we left off on stage 1, and we have 4 steps on the right side there, along with a total of 10 steps in this build. And they recommend that you use a gel type super glue for this when assembling dissimilar parts, plastic onto metal or metal onto wood, those types of things, resin with metal, those types of things. So in this case it's going to be plastic onto metal, so that's why we're using the super glue for that. So let me get the parts out, we'll get a close look, and we'll start the assembly. Here's the parts included with stage 2, and nicely protected in the wrap here. Looks very nice. So I'll pull these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of all the parts contained in stage 2. And we receive the upper jaw, which is made of plastic. You can see where our teeth insert into, very nice chrome. We receive the upper teeth, which are plastic also. They're kind of an off-white, a yellowish color, yellow, brownish color teeth there, very cool. We receive the upper arm A, and that's made of metal. Very nicely detailed. Nice chrome, the same type of chrome that we saw on the face. And we see upper arm piece B. Looks like a socket joint. Upper arm piece C. And then we receive screws in one bag. So I'm going to pull these screws out and break them down for you and explain them to you a little bit later. Here's a close-up of the screws, and you can see we have 2 different types of PB screws. We have the 2x6 PB screws, and then we have the 2x4 PB screws. Now we also have a 2x6 KB screw. I'm going to go ahead and put this aside because I'm not going to use it for this stage. Now we'll assemble step 2, 3, and 4, and that's simply going to be putting the lower jaw onto the eye socket assembly. And if you'll see here, there's a couple of points here that it inserts into, right here and right here. And I'm going to be using a PH0 screwdriver because our screws are a little bit larger. Those are the PB 2x6 screws that we'll be using for this. So we'll simply insert that in, just like so. Turn it over, and we'll put 2 screws in the lower jaw, And they tell you to be careful with the wiring on the back side. It can be very delicate. And they're going to be going in right here. Okay. Put the first one in here. Just going into plastic, so it's very easy. And you don't want to over tighten it, or you could strip it just until you get some resistance. Stop. And we'll do the next one. And that was easy. There we go. That's how that looks. Next, I'm going to get my super glue ready, and I use this DAP Rapid Fuse. This is the type of glue they talked about. It is a thicker super glue, and I'll be using my glue looper to apply it with, and a little solo cup to apply it down onto. You can find all these in my Amazon store. There we go. Pretty thick stuff. Next, we're going to continue installing this upper piece of the face onto the lower jaw, and this time we're going to install 2 of the PB screws, but this time these are the shorter ones, the 2x4 ones. So in order to do that, they are going to go right there and right there. So I'll do this one first on the right side. And one more on the other side. And they are tight. Looks good. Right there and right there. And I believe we now install the teeth. Here's the teeth. And they are marked. The sprue itself is marked. These are number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. So they do tell you specifically how they are installed, and we'll follow that. In order to cut them off, I recommend a good quality cutter, but you can use some cheap ones too. These are the Tamiya sprue cutters, and it's just really simple to just cut them off one at a time. And I'm going to cut off number 1 first. So that's number 1 right there. And then I'm going to do number 2. That's number 2. Number 3. And lastly, the last set of teeth here, number 4. And I will take an X-Acto knife. I'll take an X-Acto knife and just kind of clean it up a little bit. That looks good there. And the next one. Just trying to get the little nub off. Looks good there. Be careful when handling these X-Acto blades. And that looks good. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We'll bring the mouth over and go to install this. Alright, as we look at the mouth, number 1 goes here, 2, 3, and 4. So I'm going to switch these around so they are in the right order. Better yet, I think I'm just going to pull them aside so they don't get in the way. And I'll work on number 1 first. Just do a little test fit first, and they look good. Okay. Take my super glue. And I'm going to apply super glue across the whole spectrum of his lower jaw. I feel like a dentist. My daughter's in dental hygiene school, so she's been working on my teeth here lately. That's been fun. It's all good though. It's all good. She's been working on my mouth. Okay, so we've got plenty of thick super glue in there on that jawline. And we'll put the first set of teeth in. Obviously you want them to be curved like a mouth would be. So the first set goes right down into those holes there. Number 2, go next. Number 3, next, and lastly, number 4. There we go. That's what they look like. I'm going to take some super glue accelerator, or what we call a kicker, and hit them with some kicker to accelerate the drying time, make them dry faster. There we go. Looks great. I'm done with super glue, so I'm going to clean it off my looper here, take a lighter to it, and just burn it off. There we go, nice and clean. Next we're going to install the right arm components, and that's step 8, 9, and 10. And we want to make sure we align this up correctly. There's a notch here that matches the other side, just like that. If I turn it around, you can see it's smooth on the other side. And we're going to install 2 screws on the bottom here. We're going to be using those KB 2x6 screws, the KB screws they call them. They're countersunk, and I showed you those, a close-up of those a little bit earlier. And so we'll go ahead and install this now. Going into plastic, so it should be easy to do. There's one. And there's number 2 going in. Looks great. That's all put together. Looking good. And that's all we do for stage 2. I had a wonderful time assembling this stage, and we've completed a little bit of the right shoulder along with the head and jaw. We installed the teeth. That was a lot of fun doing those. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 3. And this time we build the right arm and first finger, and we also get the battery pack with this issue. You're going to need 3 AAA batteries for this. And we have 4 steps on the first page, followed by 15 steps total for this entire build. So I'll get these parts out and I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 3. We get the battery pack here and a whole bunch of parts for the finger, some screws. I'll take these out and we'll get a closer look. We also received the corrected parts for the fingers. I'll turn it over, and they're taped to the back side of the pack. So be sure you don't throw these away. Pay attention to that. Very nice of Agora Models to give us all the corrected pieces to fix the problems that the hatchet kit first came out with, but they very quickly corrected this for us. Here's the addendum for the step-by-step guide. And we're not going to be using these parts that came in the blister pack. Instead, we'll be using the parts that were taped to the back side. And also, we won't be using 3 of these. The thinner ones, the thicker one there, right there, we will use, it looks like. And of course, here's the parts that are included in the bag that came in taped to the back of the blister pack. Here's a close-up of the parts for stage 3. Of course, we received the battery box, and we receive right arm components, 3 of them. It's like an actuator assembly. All 3 pieces are made of metal. We received one of the fingers, and they're all made of metal also. We received the test circuit board, and we got some screws here. These are the 3x8 PM screws, and these parts here are part of the finger for articulation. These we will do away with, so the ones that originally came packaged in there, they are gone, and the ones that were taped to the back of the box, the new parts, are now in this bag, so those will replace the ones I just took away. So I'll be right back and we'll get started. In steps 1, 2, and 3, we are going to assemble this actuator assembly for his arm. Now these parts are all metal, so we're going to be putting a screw into metal. The screw that we're using is the PM screw, the 3x8 millimeter screw. And since we're going to screw it into metal to make it easier for us, I'm going to be using my Vaseline and these little micro applicator tips to apply it. And of course you can find these on my Amazon store. I put a link in the description below on how you can find those. So we're going to be putting a screw into this end here. Put some Vaseline on it. It's just going to help it thread in a lot easier. And this simply goes on that, like that. And that inserts like that. And we'll be straight down with it here. We'll put our 3x8 screw into it using a magnetized screwdriver. There it is. Looks good. And that's all we do with that. I'll put it aside. Next we're going to install batteries into our battery box. It has an on and off switch for that. It has a screw that keeps it closed on the back side here. We'll take that screw out. There we go. We will put 3 AAA batteries into this. Put the cover back on. I'm just going to leave the screw out because I don't want to leave the batteries in it. Next we're going to plug this into the test board. And it has 2 contacts on it. Simply goes down just like that. If you see close up of it there. We're going to test our lights out, our LED lights on the front of the face there. We're going to hook it up to the test board one at a time. There we go. That one works. And we'll do the other one here. And that one works. Great. Step 11 through 15 we'll be using some super glue. Now I use this DAP Rapid Fuse all-purpose adhesive. Works great. This is real thick. They recommend the thicker stuff. Got a little dab on there. I'll also use my glue looper, and like I said, you can find this on my Amazon store. Works great for applying your glue wherever you want it. These are the replacement parts. I'll pull these out of the bag. And you can see we have 3 plastic sleeves and 3 connectors for the fingers. We're going to put the plastic sleeves on the connectors. They just slide down over them. And these make your fingers articulate without being too loose. There we go. And I'll lay these out how they should look. This shows you how step 10 all goes together. Step 11, they want us to super glue these 2 parts together. So I'll apply the super glue around the edge here. Just like that. Step 12, we assemble the first joint. That inserts through there and through there. Just like that. Step 12, they want us to assemble the first joint. We'll push that through, then we'll push it through there. Then we'll put some glue, super glue. On this tab. There's that. That's how that looks. Step 13, we do the next joint. Push that through. Put some more glue on here. And the last joint. Throw some super glue on there. And there you have that. Get some kicker on there. And we'll let that dry. I did use some super glue accelerator on there, or what I call kicker. And that completes stage 3. Very cool so far. Fully articulated finger. Actuator for the arm. Let's look at the step-by-step instructions for stage 4. And here's our stage 4 instructions for installing the components for the upper right arm. Got a lot going on here. First 5 steps are over here on the right. And we have a total of 15 steps going on with the next page. A lot there. And we end it with stage 18, and we do a lot in this particular stage. So I'll get the parts out, we'll get a close look, and we'll start the assembly. Here's all the parts for stage 4. A lot going on here. Very heavy, so there's a lot of metal here. I'll go ahead and open this up, we'll get a closer look at the parts. Here's a close-up of the parts for stage 4. We received 4 components for the arm, and they are all metal. That's these 4 right here. We also received the right arm rod, A and B. That's both of those two. They are metal also. We received plastic grips for combined right arm components. The rubber washers. That's these black washers here. And screws. We received 4 different types of screws. Some PM screws, 2x4mm. Some more PMs, 3x8mm. Some more PMs, 3x16mm. And another PM, 3x20mm. So I will pull those out separately and give you a close-up of those, and then we'll start the assembly of this issue. Here's all 4 screws. Now these screws are all considered button head screws, and they're all categorized as PM screws. So we have the 2x4 screw, we have the 3x8, 3x16, and the 3x20. So you can see the 3x's are a little bit thicker than the 2x's. Step 1, 2, and 3, we assemble another actuator for the arm. And same thing, they're all metal, so I'll need to lubricate the screw hole for our 3x8 screw that we are installing. I'll be using my Vaseline as usual and my little applicator tip. So my screw is going to go into here. And there's actually threads cut into this, so that makes it nice. What I can see, there's threads down in there. That's good. We're going to insert that right there, like that. We're going to push this in. Here's another technique for you. Go ahead and put your rod in and put your screw in where it's sticking out on the end there. And then you can simply take the other end, get it started. Once you have it started, then you can screw it down. And there it is. Alright, we're going to put our rubber grommet onto the end of the rod, and the rod has a detent on it, so does the grommet. It has a fatter detent on one side. We're just simply going to insert that onto the detent like that, and we're going to put our screw in, our 2x4 screw. It's threaded already, so it's not having to cut into it. You're just screwing it in, being careful you don't cross thread anything. Cross threading would be a bad thing, and that will lock that rubber grommet onto that rod. Step 5, we're going to install the rod into our actuator from stage 3 that we assembled earlier. We're going to turn this around, and it's simply going to insert into that and give us that actuator sound. Perfect. Next, we're going to assemble the rubber grommet onto the other rod. So we'll get this actuator out of the way, and we're going to do the same thing with it as we did earlier. Make sure it goes into the detent like advertised. Put our 2x4mm screw in. It's tight. Then we're going to grab our actuator that we just built, and we're going to insert that into it. Perfect. Now in step 8, we're going to get our joint from stage 2. We're going to apply these rubber pieces on it, and they're simply going to go around that one and that one. That's how that looks. They say that these parts will not fit firmly, but later on they will when they get installed in a later step. We'll go ahead and assemble step 11 through 15. We're going to attach these two actuators. On this side here, it takes a 3x20 screw, and on the right it takes a 3x16 screw. So we'll put the screw in from the back side like they want us to, but in order for the screw to stay in place for now, I'm going to put some tape on the back side to help me with that. Okay. And then same thing on the other side. I'm going to put a 3x16 screw into that, and I'm going to put some tape on it to keep it in there. Now I can put my actuator on this side and the other actuator on the other side. And that's what we have going on so far. Next, they want us to take our joint here and install that on top. Remember, we had those plastic bushings just like they are like that. You're going to go straight down and they're going to get inserted into that just like that. Okay, see that from the side camera? Looks good. Alright, next we install this outer piece here, and you can see now our screws are going to screw into the back side here. Okay, so we're going to fit that down on top of that rubber joint. Pretty fancy, that's how this works. Okay, we got it started. We'll just tighten these down. Pretty heavy duty this is. Don't need to use any lubricant because the threads are already there. Makes it nice. And there we go. What's nice though is this rotates still. Okay, that rotates. Alright, that's how that looks there. I'll turn it over, and that's how that looks there. And that completes stage 4. Making a lot of progress on this. I'm pretty pleased about it. This was a lot of fun assembling. This is probably the most mechanical kit I've built so far, so I'm having a lot of fun with this. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 5. As I open it up here, on stage 5 it looks like we install components for the lower jaw and neck, and here's all the parts that are with this stage. We'll open it up. We have 7 stages in the very beginning here, and then the next page we go all the way up to stage 9 here on the left. So let me get the parts out, we'll get a closer look, and then we'll start this assembly. Here's stage 5 parts, and I'll go ahead and pull these out. We will get a closer look at them. Here's a close-up of the parts. We have the lower jaw, we have the ring, ball joint socket, we have ball joint A and B, ball joint cover, and a bag of screws. So we have 2 different types of screws. We have some PM screws, 2x6s, and some BP screws, 2x6s. These are the BP screws, 2x6s, and these are the PM screws, the black ones, 2x6s. They always give us a spare screw, so throughout this build I've been getting a spare screw for everything. Step 1, 2, and 3 we assemble this ball joint assembly, and it simply just goes together just like that. And then we install the 2x6 screws, the silver ones. Pretty easy so far. Be careful not to over tighten, or they could strip. When you get some resistance, go ahead and stop. That's how that looks. Good. Looks good. Next we assemble steps 4, 5, 6, and 7. We'll turn this over. We insert this ring right there, just like that. We put the ball joint through here, and then we'll put the cover on it. Just like that. Next we'll put the overall black cover on top of that using the black 2x6 screws, the PMs, and that simply fits down. Doesn't really matter how it goes. You can kind of feel it snap in place there. We'll put our first 2x6 screw in to that. And we got one more. And that is all secure. Looks great. Turn it over. We can see our ball joint there. Great. Okay. And that completes stage 5, where we installed this ball joint. And pretty cool how everything goes together here and how it was engineered. I like it. All your moving parts move relatively easy, so I like that. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 6. And with stage 6, looks like we assemble the teeth of the lower jaw and the bridge of the nose. These are all the parts that are included, just 3 basic parts here. And we do a lot here though when we install the teeth, those wacky teeth of the lower jaw there. 6 steps on these first 2 pages here. And then the last couple steps are the bridge of the nose here on the left. So let me get these parts out, and we'll get a closer look and we'll assemble this issue. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 6. And I'll go ahead and take these out. We'll get a closer look at them. Here's a close-up of the parts. We get the lower jaw, which is made out of metal. Very detailed there. It's a big hunk of metal there, right? Very cool. Nice. Very nice. And obviously our teeth are going to go into this right here. And here's our tree with the teeth on it. Kind of a off-white, brownish yellow color. And these are numbered. Just like the other ones. They're numbered on the back here. Okay, 1 through 5. And the bridge of our nose right there, which is also made out of metal. And we're going to glue those teeth down with this super glue. I like using this DAP Rapid Fuse all-purpose adhesive. It's a little bit thicker and easier to use. Also use my glue looper, and very handy for applying the glue where you want to without making a mess. You can find these on my Amazon store. I put a link in the description below. Here's a close-up of the teeth. And so this is part number 2, 4, 3, 1, 5. I'm going to take these off and I'll be right back. Go ahead and cut these off, and I'll use some Tamiya sprue cutters. Let me put these where I can. There we go. So I'll cut off number 1 first. Put him aside so I know he's number 1. Number 2 is over here. Number 3. Number 4 in the center. And finally number 5. Number 1, number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Let's glue these down. I'll go ahead and put my glue in first. So since we're gluing plastic to metal, we really need to use either super glue, or you could use 5-minute epoxy. So we'll put in number 1 first, which is on this side. Almost looks like my teeth. Number 1. Now number 2. Looks good. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. There we go. And oops, that looks like I got number 2 in backwards. Take it out. It's got a curvature to it. And there we go. There we go. That looks a lot better. They fit really good. Very convincing too. And to make them dry faster, I'm going to put some super glue accelerator on it, or what we call a kicker. And they'll dry fast. And the last step, step 7, we install the nose bridge. We have to super glue that in place also. And that goes in these holes here. Looks good. And it simply just goes down, just like that. That is it. Put some accelerator on it. And that should dry very nicely. And that completes stage 6. Had fun installing the teeth on the lower jaw and the nose bridge. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 7. As we open this up, you can see we have the components here for the upper arm and head motor. And we have 10 steps here, a lot involved here. And next page we finish with 13 steps total. So let me get the parts out and we'll get a closer look at those and then we'll assemble this issue. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 7. And quite a bit in here in this little box. I'll go ahead and take these out and we'll get a closer look at them. Here are the parts for stage 7. Upper arm and head motor. So we have the 3 parts for the upper arm. That's these 3 right here. They're all plastic. We also have the upper arm ring. We have the head motor joint. There's 2 parts for that. And then we have 1 bag of screws. We have 5 PB 2x6mm screws. For stage 7 we are going to be using super glue. I like using this DAP Rapid Fuse all-purpose adhesive. And I also like using my glue looper for applying the glue. So I have these links in my Amazon store. I put the link down below in the comments. Alright, so we got to glue this part here onto this edge here. They want to make sure we don't get the glue close to those holes or those openings. So I'm going to apply glue actually like right here in between them. And right there. It's good to use a real thick super glue for this. There. And right there. And then we'll just simply put this down. Just like that. I'm going to take some super glue accelerator or kicker and spray it in there. It has capillary action, so it should feed on those on a super glue and dry it fast. Hold it in place for a second, and that should lock that in pretty good. Next we'll take our arm from stage 4 and we're going to insert this onto the arm next. But before we do, we need to throw some glue on this edge here. There's like 4 tabs that get glued. And I'm going to go ahead and glue them to this. And this simply inserts down right on top of that. And just like I did in the past, I'm going to spray it with some kicker. It'll find its way in there. And if you look, you can see our serrations there. Looking good. Next we continue with the assembly of the upper arm. We're going to be doing steps 7, 8, 9, and 10 with this. And this simply just goes down just like that on top of it. You can see how that looks. And we're going to put 2 of those 2x6 millimeter PB screws. And that just screws together real easy. Be careful you don't over tighten these because it is going into plastic. Feel some resistance, you stop. There we go. Looks good there. Now for step 11, 12, and 13, we're going to assemble the head motor joint mechanism. And if you look at it, you can see where it goes into it. It's not centered, so make sure you have it over like I do in this case, and then the bracket that goes on it's going to go just like that. You don't want to go in that direction, you want to go the opposite direction. Okay. We'll be using those PB screws for this once again. And I think the easiest way is to put it through this bracket first. That way it can be held, and insert it right there, and you can get it started pretty easily that way. Leave it a little loose, go with the next one. Just like that, and I'll tighten them down. And that's how that looks. Great. And that completes stage 7. Wow, that was a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying this. We assembled a lot of the arm mechanism, a little bit of the head motor mechanism, and so this has been fun so far. I'm enjoying it. So stay tuned for stage 8 coming up. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 8. And here it looks like we install the components for the right thumb and right palm. And here's all the parts involved with stage 8. Pretty cool. You get to build up the thumb, it looks like. So here's all the steps for building that thumb. And it looks like they've already included all the new pieces to make everything articulate a little better than the original issue. So I want to hand it to Agora Models for doing that with this. And we go all the way up to step 14 with this. So I'll go ahead and get the parts out, we'll get a close look, and we'll assemble this issue. I'll be right back. Here are the parts. And it looks like we get a little bit of the palm and the pieces for the thumb. So I will pull these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts. We get the right palm. We get parts for the thumb. We get connector points here, all the new connectors that Agora thought of to make the thumb articulate a little better. And we get 2 KM 2x6 millimeter screws. We will be using some super glue with this, so I recommend the DAP Rapid Fuse All-Purpose Super Glue. It's a little thicker than the other glues, but any gap filling glue will do with this. I have a little tray here and my glue looper, which will help me apply the glue where I want it. So if you want to purchase the glue looper or the glue, you can find it on my Amazon store. I put a link in the description below. I'll also be using some kicker, or what we call a super glue accelerator, and you can find that also on my Amazon store. Step one, we glue the fingertip to the knuckle, and we'll just use some heavy duty super glue for this. And we'll just simply squeeze in there just like that. I think we'll be fine. I don't think I need to put any accelerator on that. Next we'll insert these plastic sleeves on the connectors. This is step 3. Notice that we have 2 longer ones and 2 shorter ones, so make sure your plastic sleeves match that. You'll notice we have short sleeves and long sleeves. So we're simply just going to put those on. Really fun. I'm enjoying this build. I've been watching it over in Europe. This guy's building it over there, and I'm like, wow, I really would like to get the Terminator kit and build it for everybody in the US. So that's what we are doing here. Don't be afraid to ask any questions. Put your questions down in the comments below if you have any questions about this. I'll try to get to your question as soon as possible. I don't let things sit too long. Here we go. So all the plastic sleeves are on those connectors. Next, on step 4 and 5, we go ahead and hook up the first knuckle there and connector. We're going to use the shorter connector in this case. Squeeze it down with the pliers until there's no gaps. Goes in there pretty good. Take my pliers, just kind of squeeze everything together, make it tight. And they want us to put some glue into that. Just a little dab will do ya. And we'll put that cover piece on there. Just like that. That's one done. We'll do the next thumb section. And we'll use once again the shorter connector, which is the 8-7, 8-11, and we're simply going to insert that through the bottom here again. Very tight. You can continue to use your pliers like I am here. I'm going to put the other one on top of that. That pushed it through just fine, just like that. Now they want us to put glue on that also. We'll put that cap on. Going to hit it with some accelerator. And we're going to install the last connector. I'm going to make sure this is oriented correctly. which it looks like it is right there, as they show in the picture. So and this is that longer connector. And see how it's oriented there? It's got a little tab that sticks out. That's how it should look. Just like that. With the piece going through and that on the top left. And that's how they show it in the instructions. Now we need to go ahead and glue this. Applicator works great for that. There's like a suction effect when you put that down, so that's why I have to hold it down and then I have to hit it with some kicker to get it to stay, because it wants to pop back out. This one didn't, so that's good. Next, step 10, 11, and 12. We'll install this on the wrist. Now on the back here, we have an alignment pin. So that's definitely going to line up with that. Just like that. And they say that that pin is just to help you out when you go to put the screw in. So we'll get that going next here. We'll put that screw in first. Get it lined up. It's threaded already. Now let's get the pin lined up. Okay, get that pin lined up there. And this is a recessed screw. Perfect. Looking good. That's how that looks. The thumb. Okay. And that was a KM2 screw that we used, a 2x6. Now we're going to install our finger from stage 3, and that's going to go on just like that. Goes in from the top here. That's the longer connector. And our finger goes on that. Take our super glue on this. And we'll put our cap on it. And I'm going to hit that with some kicker. I'm going to hit the rest of these with kicker. Here we go. That's my super glue accelerator. And that's all we do for stage 8. We assembled the thumb and attached the forefinger to the hand. Looks great. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 9. So for stage 9, we install the components for the right hand side of the head. And here's all our components here. And we only have 4 steps to do this, so I will get these parts out, get a close look, and we'll assemble this issue. I will be right back. Here's stage 9 parts, and these are all the parts for the right hand head parts. So I'll take this out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of the parts, and these are the 2 right hand head parts. And then we also get 3 PM screws, 2x4 millimeter. And they always give us a spare screw, which is great for this build in case you lose one in the carpet monster. So we'll do all 4 steps here. Basically we just put this together, turn it over, and we'll orient it the way it needs to be oriented. It only goes on one way, and it looks like it goes just like that. Lines up with our screw heads there. Turn it over. That's what that looks like there. Pretty cool. Okay, so we're going to be putting a 2x4 millimeter screw into this. I live in Arizona. We've had very hot temperatures here lately. No rain. We have fires everywhere going on all over the state. We really need some rain bad. So our monsoon season should be kicking in here soon. There's an R on here letting you know it's the right hand side. Pretty cool. But that's how that looks there. Welcome back. Let's look at the instructions for stage 10. Now this is the last stage for pack 1. And it's been fun so far. Let's look at these instructions here. Stage 10, we actually assemble the inner eye sockets in the right middle finger. Lots of parts here. And we've already assembled a couple of the fingers, so I already know what's involved with that. And we have 14 steps total. So let me get these parts out, we'll get a closer look, and then we'll assemble this issue. I'll be right back. Here's the parts for stage 10, and the eye sockets are there, middle fingers there, and all the hardware. It looks like they've given us already the upgrade for the fingers. Agora, thank you. That looks great for thinking of that and upgrading these fingers so that they articulate a little bit better. Let me take these out and we'll get a closer look. Here's a close-up of stage 10 parts. We have the eye sockets, and we have all the parts for the middle finger. We did get 1 long connector and 3 short connectors. Step 1 through 4, we are going to glue the eye sockets into the face plate, and they get glued in on the back side there. Now they only go in one way, so do a test fit of those first to figure out which one goes on which side. I am going to use my Rapid Fuse DAP super glue. It's thicker, it's like a gap filling super glue, along with my glue looper to apply the glue to where I want it. And then lastly, I will use my super glue accelerator, or what I call kicker. So in order to do this, I am going to go ahead and apply some glue to these tabs in here that these eye sockets go into. So I already have the eye sockets oriented the way they need to be, left side, right side. And I'm just going to dab some glue on these tabs in here. Looks good. Here comes the tricky part. So you want to get them to line up with those tabs as much as possible. And that one went, but the other side did not. There we go. They kind of got to go down at the same time together. There we go. That side is in. Do the other side now. There we go. Now they are both in. Looks good there. Gonna hit them with some kicker. Hold them tight for a couple seconds here. There we go. All dried up. And that's how it looks. There we go. With the eye sockets glued in place. Looks great. Step 6, we glue the index finger on. This is for the middle finger. So we're going to add some of that thick super glue to the mix here. Perfect. And we're just going to glue that on. It's a pretty tight fit anyway. There we go. Perfect. Take the shorter one. That lines up like that. Like that. And we take one of the shorter connectors. We'll go ahead and put plastic sleeve on it here. Plastic sleeves make it so the fingers are a little tighter and they'll articulate a little better. And then we'll put that in. Slide that on there. And then the next one goes down on top of that. Put some super glue on that. And we'll put our end piece on. Just like that. Looks great. Now we take the longer part of our finger here and the shorter connector. We need to put the sleeve on it, plastic sleeve. Looks good. And that goes on this side first. on there. Put the other side on. And you may want to take some pliers and just compress it with those. It helps it immensely. Now we need to put some glue on this also. Right on the very end there. Put the cap on it. Looks good. Now the last joint goes on. We put the plastic insert on this like we did before. And we press that down on top of it. These are very tight, so this may even help here. Put the other one on there, and we'll squeeze it together. I just find that these pliers really help out. Gets everything on evenly and put together like it should be. There we go. Good. And we'll apply our glue to that. And the last cap on that. Perfect. Now I want to go ahead and hit this with some kicker here in a second. Let me make sure it's all tight. Good. Everything's tight. And we'll hit it with some kicker. Perfect. Let that dry. Now we install that middle finger onto the palm, and much like the other one, it's going to go from underneath, just like that. And we will insert the longer connector this time. We need to put the sleeve on it first. So it looks like the longer sleeve goes in from the top here. Move all this stuff out of the way so we can get this pressed on there. See what I can do to get it through. Just like that. Perfect. Well, the pliers are great for that. And put our finger on there. Press that down. there. Just like that. Squeeze it on there one more time. Hit it with some kicker. And we'll let that dry. And that completes stage 10. Had a lot of fun with this. We actually have 3 of the fingers done on the hand now. That's awesome. And we inserted the eye sockets onto the face mask. So let me grab all the parts that we've assembled so far for pack 1, and I'll show you all that. Be right back. So here's everything we've assembled for pack 1. We built this arm, large actuators on it. Very cool. Pretty big piece there. We've assembled most of the right hand, 2 index fingers and a thumb. We installed the teeth and the eyes. We did a light check of those with our battery box. We assembled the nose piece and eye sockets on the face mask. We assembled the right hand part of the head. We assembled one of the sockets assembly and another piece of the arm there too. And pieces of the motor-driven face. So if you like this video, give me a like. Please subscribe to my channel. I'm looking at getting 20,000 subscribers real soon. Help me out with that if you would, please. And I'd like to thank everybody who already subscribes to my channel and has been a lifelong subscriber to me. I've been on here, I would say, 7 or 8 years now, and I appreciate each and every one of you. Head over to Agora Models and subscribe to this today before it sells out. It's fantastic. You'll enjoy it. You can build along with me. You get pack 1. You get all this done with pack 1. I think that's fantastic. 10 stages, 10 parts bags. So stay tuned for pack 2. I have that in my possession. I'll be building it and presenting that to you also. More than likely, I'm probably going to publish these videos in separate stages, but on the same day. I may do 2 or 3 videos on a single day, just so we catch up with everybody else, which I'm far behind anyway, but that's the way we'll do it here. So with that, thank you for watching. Happy modeling, everybody, and take care.